Welcome, everyone. I am so excited whether you are listening live or here by recording. I have somebody incredibly special to introduce y'all to. And I know some of you have met my sweet friend Wendy before, but she's just, in my view, like a Juice Plus superhero. I don't even know how to describe her other than she's one of the most godly women I have had the opportunity to meet and get to know. As you watch her live her life, she reflects Jesus, and she is a homeschooling mama of six. She has been a part of the Juice Plus company for over 20 years, and she has a massive business, y'all. And you know why she has a massive business? Because she has a massive heart to serve people. Um, so I want y'all to hear every bit of gold and wisdom that she has to offer. And so we're going to do this interview style. So I want you to hear from Wendy about her story and just how she was introduced to Juice Plus and how she got started in sharing Juice Plus and just a little bit about her journey. And so we would call it technically your product story and your business story, but we're a little more relaxed about that today. We just want to hear from Wendy and we want to hear her heart. And so, yeah, Wendy, I'd love to for them to hear your story.
Thanks, Sharon. You're so sweet. And I just need to take you everywhere to introduce me to others. Never been introduced in such a sweet way. Thank you. I am so grateful that I just celebrated 20 years with Juice Plus, and I can't even imagine where my life would be like right now. I'm pretty sure my parents might not even be alive. I just have a lot of gratitude, and I hope that that comes through in my message to you today because I don't really think that we fully understand how important what we do is. And sometimes I think we're not bold enough, we're not courageous enough to share our heart with others, and we can miss opportunities. And I named our team Courageous. I felt like God named it, but because a lot of people struggle with courage to speak their truth, and to care and to share, and because they're concerned about, how it's going to be received. But I'm so thankful that another mom shared her story with me. And because she did, I'm here today and have had my life transformed in the most incredible way. I wasn't looking for a product, I wasn't looking for a business, but I was already passionate about health and wellness and studying nutrition and working vigilantly to feed my family excellently. And it was hard. It was very hard because we had an extreme diet, and I kept having kids. One after another after another. I was either pregnant or nursing, and I learned about it when I was pregnant with my fifth child. We were actually living in two states, Virginia and Maryland, and traveling back and forth. And my husband had a successful construction career. He built commercial construction, and was really busy. And we had a very, very full life. And I will tell you that it was everything that I could do to just run my family. But I had a heart for helping others, and it really was a ministry for me to teach people what we were doing with nutrition and focusing on prevention. Um, and I just never realized that there was such an easy button like Juice Plus. And so when another mom shared her story with me, it totally made sense. I knew I needed to have it. And I actually asked her when she followed up with me, if there was a business with this, not because I wanted to grow a business, because I had done that with a couple other companies prior to that time. But I just really wanted to be a good steward of our family finances because I knew I wanted our whole family on Juice Plus, and I knew I was going to share it. In fact, I had already started sharing it before she even followed up with me. And so my mother, who I had tried for 10 years to get her to eat healthy, her health was failing. She was a mess. She struggled with pain. It was really hard. I'm very close to my parents. And so she wouldn't do any of the things that I recommended. Maybe y'all have somebody in your life like that where you see them harming themselves, not intentionally, but they're just not caring for themselves properly. And that's how it appeared to me. And so, anyway, when I told her what I was going to do, she said, I'll do that. And I was just, I mean, you could have knocked me over, with your finger. I was so shocked that she wanted to do something that was going to contribute to better health. Now, I had no expectations for Juice Plus. I just knew that everybody needed more fruits and vegetables. And so we all started at the same time, and the transformation began almost immediately. I was close to having my fifth child. I saw my pregnancy health change. um, my energy changed dramatically because my sleep was so much better. The things that I was 39 years old, my mother was 64 at the time, and I didn't expect, like I said, anything, but I started to see all these things happening in my health that I thought these things were normal, seasonal allergies, joint inflammation, sleep issues, all kinds of things like that. I just started seeing things correcting, and I started to feel incredible. And then it was, I at that time I started to see this transformation in my own family and my mom. And I went to visit her after I'd had my child. And this was transformational for me, y'all, because I'd been sharing, but when I saw how it impacted my mother, it was a game changer, because she went from hardly being able to walk up the stairs to being able to jog up the stairs like a teenager. And she said, I have so much energy. I don't know what to do with myself. I was, pitching pine straw in the yard for 3 hours yesterday. And I mean, it was the most, and I felt like God said to me, what are you going to do? And it was really at that time that I realized I had a moral and ethical obligation to share our story with people, because I had tried to get her to make changes and she wouldn't do any of it. Not because she was just being difficult, it's because, like, let's face it, people get set in their ways and it's hard to create change.
Mhm.
And Juice Plus is easy. And so I got so excited and just started sharing our story. And then I started to fall in love with the business, because I realized that not only could I help people get, Juice Plus at the best cost, earn on their family's orders, but also to share with other people that they loved and cared about. And I started to see that I could help people create a paycheck that could help them have a brighter financial future. And so I got so passionate about the team building aspect of what we do, because I can only reach so many people alone, but together, we're warriors on a mission, right? To help people have a better life, a better health, better, brighter financial future. But then also we get to care about people and minister to them in their life with their needs. And I believe God's brought so many people into my life because of this business, and for that I'm so grateful.
Mm, I love that, Wendy. I love hearing the story about your mom and being reminded of that. I had heard it before, but it's just it I probably every one of us thought of someone that won't make changes that would do something simple. And so, y'all, I hope you're writing things down, names down that come to mind as Wendy speaks. But I love um, I love the way too you've expanded your reach in such a huge way and impacted so many people, both their health as well as their financial health. Um, and as you so beautifully said, we then get to also invest in people's lives in really meaningful ways that have nothing to do with fruits and vegetables and nothing to do with a paycheck, but everything to do with what's really important in life. So I love that. Okay, so the second question is, I know that you have received an award called the Resilient Leaders Award. And that is something I have learned in my 24 years with doing this incredible, as Shelley Mackey says, ministry. Resilience is a requirement if you are going to stick with this. But I think all of us would love to learn from you about how you became such a remarkable, resilient leader.
Well, thank you. I feel very blessed that God put me where he did in with my upline and and my team, because we learn from everyone in this business, and I feel like I've been surrounded by remarkable people who have poured into me. And really, I feel like what we do is paying that forward, um, because I've had a success leaves clues, right? Success leaves clues. And all we have to do is find somebody that is doing or accomplishing what we want to accomplish, and then we follow their lead. Well, and I also feel like this business reflects life. In other words, I've done this business as I've lived life while I was raising my children, while I was homeschooling, while we were living in two different states, um, through the ups and downs of life. And I have had some tremendous business experience that has blessed me. I'm just so grateful for the team that we've built and the paycheck that I was able to build as a stay-at-home mom. But I've also experienced some very difficult times. And some of those things, were private, and some of them, people were more aware of. Let's face it, when we were going through COVID, people were dying, and it was just a difficult time. But I learned how to discipline my disappointments, because it's really easy. I'm a highly emotionally wired person. And so I tend to, when someone's going through a hard time, I have a dear friend in the business right now. He's going through a terrible time right now. And it really is, it's hard, like, because you're experiencing that, you're living that with them. But learning how to harness those disappointments, those obstacles, those difficult things that happen, and use it for the good. Because you can wallow in self-pity, you can, feel frustrated. I mean, I've had 100 club PMD leave my team and try to steal people to go to another team. I've had extreme highs and extreme lows. But I will tell you that, and when you're called to do something important, the enemy doesn't like that and wants to destroy your efforts and discourage you. And we just need to learn how to stay laser focused on what our goal is, what we're trying to accomplish, what we're called to do. And I feel like some of my most challenging times within this business have brought the biggest blessings. And
Mhm.
that's because I've, kept my faith and my eye on the Lord, and realized that we're not called to do easy. Life can be incredibly difficult, especially when we're doing what we're called to do. So
Mm.
learning to discipline your disappointments. The other thing that I touched on was just really staying laser focused on your goals. And what I mean by that is focusing on the high income producing activities, because a lot of times people think they're being productive in their business, but they're not really doing the basic things that we do, the high income producing activities, which are basically talking to people and getting the next yes, taking them to that next step. It doesn't stop when we get a customer. It's all about the series of exposures. And so I really do feel like, if you ask yourself, am I treating my business like a business, or am I treating it like a hobby? That can tell you, um, if you're staying, where you need to be. But I really do feel like, yes, it's okay when difficult times come to sit in that and learn from it, but also to think, I know I'm here for a reason, and I know what I'm supposed to do, and just don't let those things stop you from doing what you're called to do.
Wow. I can't take notes fast enough. That was amazing. And you you gave us some really practical things, but also I love your higher level um just wisdom. We are called to do hard things. And when we're walking in our calling, why would we not expect some opposition. It's just, it is the way it is. And so, but thank you for that. We could linger there if we wanted to, but we'll we'll go on to the last question, and feel free to throw anything else in, any of your last minute thoughts. But um, you have a massive team, and I love that God has given you a massive team and so much influence. And I think that, you know, we learn that when we're faithful in small things, that the Lord does give us more. And I think that you're evidence of that in just how you've instructed us today about being faithful in the small things. If we're serious about wanting to do this and make a big difference in the lives of people. So um, tell us how you and your team have attracted new team members and how you effectively have onboarded them to give them the opportunity to what we would call the express track. And we've got new people on listening. But the express track to P plus and QSC just sets people up for success in a 10-day and 30-day window that is doable. And so we'd love to hear how you attract and then how you help on board so they can meet with success early. And we know not everyone will choose that, but we'd love to hear your wisdom on that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, first of all, I think sometimes if you have brought on team members and they haven't moved forward the way that you had hoped, it's easy to get discouraged and shut down. And I just would encourage you to understand that really it is a numbers thing. And a very small percentage will go to the top level of this company, right? So it's the same thing at the lower levels. Not everyone's going to do it, but that's okay, and it's okay if they don't, and it's okay to allow people to be where they want to be. And sometimes it's the ones that you think are going to do it are not going to do it, and the ones that you think will never do it are the ones that do it. And so we can't predict the future. We just do the best that we can. But I think this is the best tip I learned from Sharon Rankin. She was the first national marketing director who was direct to Jay Martin, and she said, put yourself in an environment that you love. And so if you're sitting at home alone all day long, you need to reach out to people, right? But if you can put yourself in an environment that you love and you're around like-minded people, maybe it's one of my new things that I've started is pickleball. That's such a social sport. It's so fun to meet people that way. Bible study is another one that I love. I'm in a wonderful women's Bible study, and a lot of those women are older than me, but it's, boy, is it a wonderful minute a field, like, to reach out to people about what we do. And so ask yourself, like, design your life, put yourself in a place where you want to be, something you're going to enjoy, and when you spend your time with that, you're going to be around other people who are like-minded, right? The other thing I would say is focusing on meaningful conversations. And I think I'll give you an example of that. We were looking for a car on Friday for my daughter, and we ended up in this second dealership because we were waiting and waiting for this car that was being delivered. And I used the restroom, and the woman who had showed my family this other car, I connected with her and I started talking to her. I noticed that she had this tattoo that had a Bible verse on it. And I felt like I was saying, talk to her about Choose Plus. And usually I ease into those conversations, but I just kind of right away started I think I might have said something like, oh, you look so fit. Do you focus on health or something like that? I started this, I do stuff like that. And you can turn a conversation in a fun way, and see if that's something that they're interested in talking about. I don't try to force a conversation, but in the process of getting to know this woman, I found out that her sister that she adores has diabetes and MS, and she's been praying for 10 years to help her. And I mean, we had the most incredible conversation, and she's looking at the business too. So, like, we went in for a car and I had no idea, that anything like that was going to happen. And she just was thanking me. And in fact, while we were talking, I kept hearing this car alarm go off and I'm like, is that my car? Cause I had the key fob in my pocket. And she goes, I think so. And she said, that's the enemy trying to stop us from talking. And it was just like, I don't know. I'm just telling you, like, it happens when you least expect it, right? I wasn't looking for a conversation, but I always pray that God would bring the people and that I would be, willing and faithful to serve, to
Mhm.
meet people's needs. The other thing I touched on before is next step thinking, which I kind of treat our business like a tennis match or a pickleball. Like, if you're going to just stand there and just keep hitting balls and they're going to stand and look at you, like that's not a place, where you want to move forward. But, when you get a new partner and you're bringing them in, it's almost like, they're the newbie.
Mhm.
One of the best things you can do is introduce them to Sharon, right? Get them on a connection call with her. She's going to cast vision and help them get excited. She's going to dig in and find out why they chose Juice Plus, why they're interested in the business. And then we help them say, okay, this is what you're saying you want to do, and we're going to help you. And then you're finding the people that they love and care about and connecting with them. Everything that we do is about connection and events. And that's where it's so powerful if you're connecting your people with your upline leader. That's how I got to national marketing director. Was I worked my leader so hard. I booked her with so many calls. And I mean, I would just, do the work to get them to say yes and schedule the call. And then I would introduce my friend to her and her to my friend. And then I would put it on mute and then she would work her magic and I would get to just listen and learn and just soak it all in. And the way that we do those is we are just caring about that person, finding out what's important to them. That's it. And once you do that, people are going to tell you things that you
Mhm.
couldn't even imagine about their needs and their desires. And and so those three-way calls are one of the most
Mhm.
powerful, underutilized tools that we have in this business. And then with events, Sharon was talking about, the events that you're doing or that you have coming up. If you have those events to invite for, whether they're live or in person, that's how we help start someone successfully, is we're teaching them how to invite their friends to a connection call, or how, to invite them to an event and helping them to show up. And then, our events are so beautifully done to help people see the power of Juice Plus and how incredible it is that you can have a global business for $52, right? I mean, it's unheard of, right? And so it's so much easier to reach for, especially for a new person, to reach out to someone if they're inviting them to an event or to
Mhm.
meet their friend. I want you to meet my friend Sharon. She's incredible. You're going to love her. I can't wait for her to hear your story and for you to hear her story. It's really that simple, introducing friends. Um, and then the other thing is, when you have a team building mindset and your partner has told you that they want to earn some bonus money or they want to move forward, then you're locking arms with them. You have that team building mindset, you're committed to that person, and you're going to help them, and you're there every step of the way to celebrate every win, whether it's their first conversation, their first connection call, their first order, their first event that they've committed to, that they're inviting for. You're celebrating those things along the way. And then every time our team would hit a milestone, a partner plus, a QSC, we're getting on the phone with the upline and we're celebrating, we're congratulating them, and then we're talking next steps. And so, that coaching can be helpful because, most people have a hard time. First of all, you can't really, if you're coming in cold, you can't understand our compensation plan. You just kind of
Yeah.
learn as you grow, right? And then oftentimes, like when they hit that partner plus, they're like, wow, I did that. And you're helping them think, maybe I could do the next step, and you're just saying, okay, so all we're going to do is help three other people do what you just did, and I want them right from the get-go to be thinking about who are their favorite people in life. Who do you want to do life with? those are the people that you want to invite into the business right from the get-go, because you're going to have way more fun when you're doing this with the people that you love and care about. So those are like my basic tips for team building. And there's nothing glamorous, special, magical about it. It's the high income producing activities of, connecting with people, meaningful conversations, getting them to the events, and just next steps. And I don't know. I hope that's helpful, Sharon. Is that what you're looking for?
So helpful. Yes. Exactly. That was excellent. And I hear through the thread of what you said, care about people. You're all about meeting their needs and helping them get where they want to go. Celebrate so much wisdom, Wendy, so much wisdom. So, I am going to turn off the recording and, well, before I do, y'all unmute and say thank you, and then we'll turn off the recording.
Thank you,
Thank
Wendy.
you
That
so
was
Thank you,
awesome.
Wendy.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Yeah.
So fun to be with y'all today. And I will tell you one other quote. This is the Zig Ziglar quote that every time I train, I think I say this, is that, he said, if you help enough people in life get what they want, you'll have everything you want in life. And that's really the way I believe our compensation plan works. You're not going to grow a significant paycheck unless you help other people. You're just not. And
Mm,
so
mm.
it's very rewarding.
Amen. It is so rewarding. Okay, Sandy, could you turn off the recording? And we'll, yeah, it's just